which all the representatives from the Region 4 were there. And they explained their logging procedures on gliders and their operation. And trust me on this, we have minimized the amount of paperwork and administrative requirements on our gliders. You would not believe some of the things that people have to go through to fly a glider at another club. It would discourage you from ever doing it. So we have the absolute minimum, and in my opinion, the best that can possibly be. And one other thing, Take LaFrance ought to be an archaeologist or an anthropologist, because she can decipher any type of language, any symbols, anything. Trust me on this, if you have seen the log after a big 4th of July weekend, it is, you cannot read. But somehow or another, she's able to picture it and figure out through working with the tow pilot's log to figure it out. So please be aware of that, and to make sure that you log all of your flights and take care of the Blue Book, because it makes life a whole lot easier for everybody else. And the board of directors, we have entertained the motion of fining people if they didn't figure out, if they didn't do the Blue Book right. We haven't got to that point yet, but we'll see how this season progresses. But for you new members, just remember the Blue Book is a very, very important document.
All right, thanks, Bill. I'd add one other thing, the guest releases, make sure you get those signed before you take up guest rides. And the Red Book, make sure that's current. There's a place in there for BFR. I think you can attend the safety briefing. So if you communicate that to the instructor and they do the paperwork, fine, but go back and make sure your paperwork is correct in the Red Book as well. And it's up to date. So I think what I'll do is turn this over to Don, and we'll talk about air traffic a little bit. And happy to have Don here again.
Well, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to come talk to you. I love airplanes. I love talking to airplanes. I love talking to people who love airplanes. So she's covered the FARs out there better than I could. All I want to do is tell how we can work with you all and how you can work with us. The biggest problem we have at Newcastle is our radar is really bad in that area. So from my standpoint, what I need to know is when you take your first flight in the morning, give us a call either on the telephone or the radio and let us know you're flying that day and about how high you're going to be going. Now, I will probably not see gliders now. I remember a couple times last year when you were having your glider fest, I could see them because they were getting up high enough that I could get radar hits. The gliders don't have transponders, or most of them don't. And I talked to our support specialist today and asked him, is there anything new about gliders going on? And he says, well, there's a little rumbling about making them carry transponders. Don't know whether you overheard this or not, and don't know where it stands. But there are people saying they would like to see gliders with transponders. All I want to know is that you're up there. You talked about the C-130 the other day not flying around. If I know where he's going and I know you're up there, at least I make him aware that there's a possibility of glider operation in that area. That's about the best we can do, because I didn't see the C-130 up there at all. He's out there doing a little training flight with some recruits or some cadets somewhere, and he gets below our radar. Newcastle is right on the boundary of where we can see aircraft. Right now, anything 7,000 and below in that area, we're not going to see on radar, and that's with the transponder. So we have terrible radar in that area, and everything the way you're going, down toward Blacksburg, 7,000 and below, we're not going to see anything. Our boundary is just north of there, and the jets coming in, we see at about 11,000 feet, and that's about as good as we can do, and that's with the transponder. It's because Roanoke radar is really old, and it's really weak, and it sits down in a great big hole. Hopefully someday we'll get some of that corrected, but probably not in my career. The radar scopes we're working with now are vintage 1969. Technology has passed us by. When you look at some of the things that are available out there, Roanoke's not in the line to get any of that stuff. But like I say, a phone call or a call on a radio call to let us know that you're flying that day. What we do is we put a little circle around Newcastle and we put the top altitude in it. And that way, when I'm relieving the controller or the next controller, he sees that circle there, he knows the gliders are operating up there up to 7,000 feet or up to 10,000 feet. It's just a way of letting us know they're out there. The next thing is, when you finish for the day, last flight, give us a call and say, hey, we're finished for the day. Doesn't have to be when the last airplane's on the ground, but say, hey, we've made our last tow, we're going to be finished in 15 minutes. That kind of thing would let us know, okay, we can disregard this. That's the biggest help we have. I think y'all were flying last weekend. I came in the afternoon and nobody told me they were flying. Now, I got the phone call that they'd finished flying, but somebody had failed to brief me when I came in that the gliders were flying. And that's a communication problem on our part, and I'm going to pass it on to the people who are working the day shift. But let everybody know that the gliders are up there. Because it is the only thing we can do as an advisory service. When I talked to you last year about the aircraft coming in, 7,000 is our minimum altitude in that area. So IFR aircraft aren't going to be below 7,000. But that means that the Saab that Northwest flies out, climbing northbound, he doesn't get to 7,000 feet. He's a very low performance, and he could go through your area between 5,000 and 6,000 feet on a pretty regular basis. If I know the gliders are out there, I'm going to at least alert him to the problem. Hey, be on the lookout, you're going into an area of possible glider activity. That's about the best we can do, is strictly an advisory nature. Like I say, if there are enough gliders out there and they get high enough, yeah, every now and then I'll see a hit on the skin. But Roanoke radar is just really in a poor state, and I don't expect it to get any better. We've been working one channel for the last about 8 weeks now. We can have either A or B. Neither one of them are good, but we can't have them both. So the other thing I want to speak to, if any of you fly in and out of Roanoke, I came here 3.5 years ago. There were 31 controllers and no trainees. We're down to 13 controllers and 10 trainees now. We have the hope of getting 5 more new trainees in the next, by the end of May. Our experience level is way down. So I apologize, but most of our trainees are being watched by a controller all the time. They don't always sound like they know what they're doing, but there's somebody watching them who does. So safety's not jeopardized, but how it sounds is. I cringe when I hear these guys talk and they stutter and they key the mic and they're thinking while the mic's keyed, but there's always somebody watching them. But right now, that's the best way to do air traffic control, is hands-on. We haven't got it down to where we can simulate it yet. Any questions I can answer for anybody?
Yeah, just the phone number to call?
A phone number?
Yeah.
563-5985. That number will be answered by either the supervisor or the controller in charge.
We've got that number on file for the glider.
Yeah.
You think I see that?
And Don, last year you mentioned if for some reason we got blown downwind into the area, you would say about that.
If for some reason you get yourself caught on the Roanoke side of the mountain, if you got a cell phone, give us a call and let us know that's what you're doing. But I'm stressing to my people, especially when I know gliders are flying, to be on the lookout for somebody out there that doesn't have a transponder and is not talking to us. Well, I know most of your gliders don't have radios. If you got a radio, 126.9 to let us know you're coming, or just the tower frequency, 18.3 to say, hey, I'm on your side of the mountain and I got to come in and land. I would rather you land at the airport than try to put it down any place else in Roanoke. And like I say, I stress to our people, keep an eye out, especially if we know the gliders are up. Just keep your head on a swivel. We're not expecting it, but you're not going to get much of a warning with our radar to let you know you're coming in. But don't hesitate at all to come in and try to put it down on the airport. I'd rather you do it there than get on the side of the mountain and then try to find some place to land in Roanoke.
You told us last year we've got one glider right now that's got a transponder with 12 ohms. You told us
Yeah.
last year if you do call that telephone, the discrete code used all day long.
We can do that, yeah. We can give you a discrete code, and that lets us know. And if you got an altitude, that lets us know how you're getting. That's as much of a key to us is the transponder. Like I say, even with the transponder, if you're below 7,000 feet, I'm probably not gonna see you. But all of a sudden they get a hit